Welcome to What People Miss. This is a podcast about the subtleties of life. You may have heard Mozart say that the music is not in the notes, but in the silence between them. I believe the same is true of life, that life is truly lived in the breaths between the large or the bigger moments. Hi, I'm Cordelia Gaffar, the ultimate joy goddess, inviting you to choose joy and pleasure so that you savor your life. Now, enjoy today's conversation. So, welcome back to What People Miss. Bernard, I'm so happy to have you here. Host the event where I was a guest speaker. So, yeah. I'm just curious, like, what are some of your personal reflections? And then we can get into some of the things that the kings, have maybe told you.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for encouraging us to get outside of our comfort zones, right? To move, to be mindful of our breathing, to learn, to give ourselves permission to feel safe in our own bodies and in our own skin. So thank you for that. Yeah, so I mean it's pretty much what I just said, right? One of the main things that one of my main takeaways is that in 2025, us as Black men, we still got to give ourselves permission, right? We still got to give ourselves permission. And I'm grateful because in many respects, we stopped asking for permission, right? So that's a win and that's a victory in itself. But now it's like time to allow ourselves permission, like, yo, first of all, breathe. I know one of the things that I shared during the session was how, I'm 6'2", 250 pounds. At my heaviest, I've been about 270, close to 270. And I'm in spaces where I'm very body conscious, right? I'm very, whether if I'm on an elevator or I remember I had a supervisor who was a white woman, and she literally and during the supervision was just me and her in the office with the door shut, and she would literally sit on her hands because she was shaking, right? So she would literally sit on her hands, and I'm just like, so I had to be aware, like, make sure that I'm not imposing, make sure that I'm not I have to be very mindful of my body. So just to even allow myself the permission to, like, no, you know what? No, I can move. I can move around. Something that as you and I were just talking prior to coming on camera, just even if we out dancing, right? Even if we out dancing, we out on a date, we with our lady, we with our wives, we're at a celebration, we're having a good time. Oh, we two-stepping the whole night, right? We're two-stepping. We're not even allowing ourselves to like fully dance and fully express yourself. And if we do, then oh, you must be gay, or you must be a weirdo, or you must be, all these different things. And it's like, no. How about I'm alive and I feel good to be alive? Yeah.
Yeah. How about you're expressing emotion, and joy,
Hmm.
well, and pleasure because you're with your wife.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. You just gave me a whole different perspective because, I was asking you, I noticed like when I
Hmm.
did the breath portion, like there was so much conversation and interaction. I was
Hmm.
like, oh, these
Hmm.
are really, highly evolved men, and then, I mean, I'm not taking anything away, but then when I start talking about movement, it was like
Yeah.
no comments.
Yes.
And like maybe two people admitted that they felt different or good.
Yes. 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 I mean that goes again with us, really giving ourselves permission, right? I mean, Black men, you got to think about it. Historically, we were bodies, right? We was used to breed. We were used to be workers. We were used to be, unpaid labor. We were used for our bodies, right? And then, we even see through media and through certain narratives, like, okay, all right, well, if you use your body to shoot a ball through a hoop, or if you use your body to pound on another man, or if you use your body to bed as many women as possible, then that's okay. right? But don't move, don't use your body to, don't use your body to express sadness, right? Don't use your body to express fear, right? Maybe anger, maybe that's okay, that's tolerated. If it's sexual conquest, okay, that's tolerated. If it's unless it's earning you a buck, right, or pats on your back, then no, you don't move. And that's something, even as us, a lot of us are mature, a lot of us are evolving. Okay, we can get into the breath. All right, all right, all right. Yeah, I could do this. I could talk about this. I could sit here at my desk. I could sit here in my lane. I can stay as still as possible and breathe. But then when you started adding movement, it's like, oh, okay, now we're coming outside of my comfort zone. We don't dance. You know what I'm saying? We just pull up our pants and do the rock away. So
That's why I was like, for this portion, if you want to keep your cameras off.
yes,
And even when I do it with women, I say, um, this is your time to listen to the music of your body,
yeah,
right? Because to your point, we're not encouraged to move them
yeah,
unless it's for productivity,
yeah.
right?
But but what you just said though, right? It's that productivity. You know what? This morning, shout out to Nate Evans Jr. and the Kings that was on the Prayer Warriors Global, right? I was on this prayer line this morning, and one of the Kings talked about productivity versus activity, right? And the big difference. But sometimes we need activity, right? But as you just state that, maybe we got to redefine or broaden our definition of what productivity means, right? And who is for? Because I mean, I could be there's nothing wrong with being productive, getting a check, or earning plaques or earning accolades. That's awesome and that's great. Foundationally, am I productive, or the productivity that I'm getting, is it for my own benefit, just because I want to, because I like to, right? Or because it makes me feel better, or I'm able to release what I need to release, right? And starting there first. And it's okay, again, I mean, we talk about that cliche of like, hey, if the airplane going down, you got to put the oxygen max on yourself first. Well, let's broaden that. It's not just when the airplane going down, right? Sometimes we got to put ourselves first, period, right?
Yeah.
And it's all for lack of better words, a formula, right? I remember, what was that in the Bible, in the New Testament, Yahusha was asked, what is the greatest commandments? And he said, it's two. Love Yahuwah Elohim with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your might, with all your being, but also love your neighbor. And a lot of times we stop there, but it's as yourself, as yourself. So we got to learn to love ourselves first so that we can love our neighbors. And then in another passage, it says, how can you say you love the Most High whom you don't see, but hate your brother who you do see? Right. And let's take it even further. Not only just hating your brother who you do see, but even hating the person you see in the mirror. Right. So, yeah, so we got to allow ourselves permission. You know what? Let me start loving on this person first that's in the mirror. Let me see the range of motion on this person first, mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally, and then grow from there, build from there.
Yeah, I love that you said that because we did talk about self-leadership during the session,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
self-leadership always points back to self-nurturing, right?
Yes, always.
And when you also talk about worship, right? It's the highest
Mhm.
form of worship is to nurture yourself
Yeah,
because like when you first start nurturing, it's always with, prayer.
yeah,
And
yeah.
so you're
Mm,
already connecting back to the Most High and
mm.
being the reflection of him in this earth, you know,
Wow.
and then
Mhm,
carrying that into your way of being. And
mhm,
so that as yourself part that we miss, right?
mhm,
Because that's the focus of my podcast, what people
mhm.
miss.
Stop missing it. Yeah.
Is so important. And it's like that through thread that's pulling, the air out of your life.
Yes. Mm. Wow.
Yeah.
That's, I mean, visually, yeah, because you know what? We say that we use that type of language, right? We talk about jobs or relationships or situations. It's like, yo, we literally says like, oh man, it's sucking the air out of me, right? It's sucking the life out of me. Yeah. And but in many respects, we're giving it permission. We're giving it
Or we're
permission.
sucking the life out of ourselves.
Ourselves. And man, look, I just had a flashback. That was, we all had pivotal moments in our lives, right? Those moments of clarity and epiphanies. And I remember at a moment of clarity for me, I realized like I was so worried about other people who was trying to stab me in the back, but I realized I'm stabbing myself in the back, right? I got to start with that person. I got to deal with them. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, we do that. And when you had your aha moment around that, what changed? What did you do differently?
Man, you know what? What changed? Again, I'm going back to the to the prayer call that I had earlier this morning, and one of the brothers talked about that with activity, like, let's not totally dismiss activity, right? And sometimes, sometimes we need activity. Sometimes we need to get started. Sometimes, we need to make sure that we're doing something, and that can lead to productivity, right? So that's what I had to do. I had to start getting active. I had to start reading different books. Well, first I had to start reading my Bible for myself. You know what I'm saying? And not relying on, a pastor or someone else to tell me what it says, right? I had to start developing that relationship with the Most High, with myself. I had to start being open to receiving, love, permission, grace, abundance, start receiving all of the things that I've been praying for or begging for or fighting for, and really allowing myself to receive those things.
Yeah. And that's so important because receiving completes giving. You know,
Completes. Yes.
and in the world, because everything is cycles,
Yes. Yes.
right? So
Yes.
in a world where we're told to give all the time, and we don't think that that's a message sent to men too, but it is. Like, if you're
Yes.
a provider and a protector, guess what you're doing?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
But we're
Yes.
never told to receive.
Eh, I'm trying not to go there, right? And that's what, especially the first time we met, and I had the honor of being on this podcast and speaking with you. That was one of the things like I touched on that I realized in my life, like, it's I'm perverting any and everything if I take the Most High out of it, right? And if we really look and study and really better understanding what the Most High is saying to us, just like you said, it's a formula. Even like it amazes me. Some things I nerd out and kind of geek out on, right?
Yeah.
Uh, and one of the things, like, and it's so simple, right? I like oranges, right? You eat an orange, in the orange is seeds for more orange, for more orange trees, and it keeps giving. But then even the waste, right? It nurtures, it breaks down and it goes back into the earth, and it produces good soil. So it's like, yo, even the most highest waste is highly beneficial, right? And you could use the skin, you could draw the oil from the orange skin. You can make teas out of it. You could do so much more with it, right? But man's way, our way, right? The counterfeit way, the waste is destructive. The waste is plastic. The waste is toxic, right? And it's really like, yo, you know what? Really, like any and everything that I do, whether it's movement, whether it's like really genuinely breathing, whether it's giving myself permission, that's why well, I'm unapologetic about it, right? I got to keep going back to the Most High because, it's reciprocal, and that's how it's supposed to be, right? So.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be waste. You know what I mean? We can change our way of being. We're realizing, like, now that we've done so much damage to the earth, like, oh, whoa, is there a way to do this where we don't have to make, so many problems for ourselves?
Yeah.
And just like, not even on that big of a scale in your daily life,
Yeah.
you have to create so much waste, you
Yeah.
know? And I don't necessarily mean with, like the chip bag or anything like that. I mean like in your relationships, like in the
Yeah.
way that you're being with people, the way that you're being with yourself. I have to catch myself sometimes. I'm reading this lovely book by my next guest, actually, Richard Noel, called Creating Joy and Harmony. Get this book, I'm gonna tell you what, because I am stuck on chapter about frustration. I might ask him all about it next week.
Awesome.
But so what it says in there is basically that you don't have to get stuck in this cycle of frustration.
Mhm.
You can change your I am, right? So it's I am, loving myself
Mhm.
abundantly. And, I'm receiving that economically from the universe. Yes, I am, you know? And so it just helps you, he walks you through how to create these declarations and then be
And then,
grateful in advance, Thank you. I receive all the blessings that I'm speaking.
yes. Mm,
And so there's no waste, right?
mm,
Even your thoughts. Instead, you turn your frustration into harmony
mm,
so you can meet the frequency of the Most High because He's just there waiting to give you what you require, but you're stop signing it with the frustration,
yeah.
creating waste, you see?
Mm. Man, you know what? Just thank you for that stream of thought, right? And I love how it's circular, right? And when you said that, it just, man, yeah, thank you for that, right? Because oh man, you know what? In the Bible, right? One of the things that, and I'm not an expert yet, right? I'm learning I'm learning to look up words in the Hebrew, in the Greek, right? In Aramaic, and really get the original definition, the original intention of the word of words, certain words that we read. And as you was talking, it just made me think of perfection. And biblically, perfection means completion, right?
Ah,
And yeah, so a lot of times we think perfect is, oh man, I'm without flaws, I'm flawless, or I'm, this and that. When really, you know, perfection is being complete, being mature, right? Getting to the full stages, right? And allowing ourselves. And one of the things, yeah, I've come to realize is, man, I have to really allow myself, even the things that we find wasteful, even things that's uncomfortable, even the things that we don't like, right? It still has a benefit. It still has a purpose, because anything that and everything that the Most High creates, nothing goes to waste, right? And even in my own life, I mean, I've had abuse, I've had addiction issues, I've had, all these different things. And it's crazy because now in the work that I do, all of those things are beneficial, right? I even had a guy that I was counseling. He said, he was like, man, he something I said gave him pause. And he said, you know what, I'm pausing because I realized what you just said, how you said it, that you've been through your own trials, your own things, and you got over it, and now you're able to pour into me, right? So it has much more weight, right? So it's like, yo, man, nothing goes to waste. And that's what perfection is. How can I become my complete full self? That includes being at one, or being in harmony, as you stated, with my breath, being in harmony with my body, right? Being in harmony. The crazy part is, if in the spaces that we allow ourselves as men to move, to have movement, it has to be rhythmic. If you're a fighter, if you are if you're any type of fighter, whether it's a boxer, martial artist, wrestler, right? There's a rhythm, there's movement, and you can't be stiff and you can't be, start stop. It has to flow, right?
And you have
But
to breathe.
and you have to breathe, and breath is highly important, right? But we don't allow that. We don't allow that when we like, yo, man, I'm fighting for my dignity. I'm fighting for my sanity. I'm fighting for my spirituality. Every day we're fighting, right? And not saying that everything is a war, right? But we live in a world that's so productive, for lack of better words, that yeah, we do have to fight. We have to fight, man. Let me not get distracted with social media. Let me not, allow myself to be the lowest version of myself, right? So there is a constant fight, and we have to be at peace, at harmony with our breath, with our movement, with our bodies, with who we are. Yeah, I feel like I keep joking. I do a Facebook Live, right, every Saturday and every Monday morning, and I keep joking and say, hey, you know what, y'all about to see me with a pulpit, and the preacher's robe, because I feel like I'm about to start preaching.
Yeah, and and you're not preaching at though. You know what I mean? It feels like welcoming, because like I'm not even Christian, but I'm like I'm listening and I'm like, yeah, I can receive your message, so it fits.
Yeah,
Next time I will see you at the pulpit, I guess.
yeah, yeah. I'm gonna have pop-up pulpits.
Oh, yeah, that will become a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's gonna be my thing. Yeah, yeah.
Love it. I love it. So, yeah, and I love, I feel like this is like the rest of the conversation that I really didn't get to have with the Kings, but I'm glad that, I got to be there. You invited me. They
Mhm.
enjoyed it. I know, like when you introduced me and one of the brothers, what did he say? He was like, I just want to mention that you mentioned all her eroticism,
Yeah, yeah,
but I I think to some degree people expect me to talk about those things and I don't because
yeah,
it's a spiritual thing and
yeah,
that's the body movement part, right?
yeah,
Because when you're connected to your body, then you're connected to the frequency of the divine, which makes it
yeah,
easier to
yeah,
you connecting with your spouse.
yeah,
So that is my come from around that. And I want to expand, and to really having more open conversations about the sexual education we didn't get,
yeah,
right? We
yeah,
were told
yeah.
same kind of thing we've been talking about. We've been told what not to do, right?
Yes,
Like
yes.
don't have sex without a condom or, and
Mhm.
things like that, but we weren't taught what to do.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
consent. Do
yeah,
you even want to have sex? You as a man don't have to prove anything. You know what I mean?
yes, yeah,
And I feel like that's another thing that's a pressure on men, that they
mhm,
have to, like you were saying before, it's like in that category of being a stud from slavery, right? And now it's what would you say it would be considered like a badge of honor for, you know,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Almost a rite of passage in many respects. Yep, yep.
but then like as a husband,
Mm,
what are the badges of honor? Like, what are
mm,
the milestones that are expected? Are there any?
mm. Man, that's a good question. That's a good question, right? And before I attempt to answer that, right, I do kind of want to go back, right? Because even like when you talked about the brother made a comment about with the all that eroticism, right? It's funny because I thought of, if memory serves me correct, is Genesis 2, verse 25 or verse 26, right? And it talks about Adam and Eve, how they knew each other and they both was naked and unashamed, right? And that goes back to what I was saying earlier, like, just like how you said, like with sex or movement or your own body, there's nothing wrong with none of these things, but because we have removed the Most High from it, and we have a toxic view of it, right? It's become destructive, or we utilize it in a destructive way, and that wasn't the original intent, the original design, right? And so we kind of have to get back to that type of mindset, be open to receiving that type of mindset, so that we can restore, intimacy to its original intention. We can restore bodies to its original intentions, right? To its original design, and not something to be mocked, or to be fearful of, or to be ridiculed, or to be ashamed of,
Or
right?
to be
And
abused.
yeah, or yes, or abused, right? And to attempt to answer your question, man, I found, and I can only speak for my marriage, right? I found that there's a lot of unlearning and unpacking that I still have to do. By the grace of the Most High, been married for going on 20 years, and there's still unpacking that has to be done. There's still, excuse me, man, yeah, apologize. I hope we can cut that out. Yes, yeah. So, um, yeah. So there's still some unpacking that has to be done, that's needed, because yeah, because I mean, too many of us, generation after generation, we keep carrying the same old baggage. We keep carrying the same old dysfunction, and we're carrying it into our relationships, into our marriages, into parenting, into friendships, whereas though, if you're not toxic, then it's like, hey, there's something wrong with you, right? We look at it, if, like, how, something you touched on earlier, if a man is not having sex, and we're not even talking like a grown man, we're talking about young men. If you're not having sex, it's like, oh, you're automatically accused. Oh, what is, you gay or something? But you don't like women, or whatever. It's like, no, how about, like, learning who you are, so you don't bring dysfunction, or you don't bring falsehood, or you don't bring toxicity into a relationship, right? And I think that, that's, I mean, and that's all of us. All of us are affected and impacted to some degree, and it takes a lot of intentionality, a lot of, well, I'm gonna say, again, I'm unapologetic. It takes, recentering, repenting with the Most High, understanding who you are in alignment with the Most High, and then, like, relearning how to really be your full self, your true self.
Yeah. So basically what you're saying is there's um no accolades for being a great husband. And and this is something that has to be created. So is that part of what you're doing in Black Men Heal?
Yes, yes. You know what? Yes. That's funny. Yeah, because you know what? Because especially as men, I think one of the things I have to learn to do is not necessarily look for accolades, right? Not to look for pats on the back, or not to look for certain markers. Not saying that it's not necessary, or not saying that it's not expected or deserved. It is understanding that, hey, you know what? Just as broken as I am, we're all broken, right? We all have been forced into a narrative, or into a way of thinking and operating and understanding that's very foreign to who we truly are, right? So it's learning to do things, or it's learning to be the best husband possible, or perfect, right? And perfect, not in perfect in the sense of, oh, I do everything right, but perfect in the sense of where I'm allowing myself to become a complete, comprehensive man, as Jason Wilson says, right? But learning to be that complete version of myself, that fully matured version of myself, so then I can be, quote unquote, the perfect husband. That's the only way that I could do it. If I do it utilizing the Most High, standing on the Most High, but then also allowing myself to be my full self, right? And then operating from that full definition, operating from that full vantage point, right? And really utilizing that. But yeah, so part of what to do, or excuse me, part of the work that I do with Black Men Hill is to like, hey, you know what? Here's some alternatives to some alternative narratives, right? Some alternative perspective. Here's some how let's lean in deep, right? Let's not gloss over this, or let's not minimize this. Let's lean into it more, right? And really gain to understand, hey, you come from a different background, you come from a different walk. What do you think about this? Oh, wow, wow, wow. And that's amazing because in context with what, such and such just said, and really using conversation to create change. Right. So that's part of the work that I feel as though I'm called to do with Black Men Hill. I hope that answers your question.
It does answer my question. And, like, and as I'm listening to you, I understand that, we shouldn't be looking for, pats on the back and everything. I guess part of what I'm thinking of is there's so much encouragement for women to be married, but there's not a lot of encouragement for men to be married. You know what I mean?
Mm,
And also I'm sure you're not you've seen some of the opposition, right, of Black men and Black women in particular. And I'm just wondering, like, in your private spaces, because I encourage this in my intimacy groups,
mhm,
like, are you encouraging men to um aim to seek completion, right, instead of perfection?
mhm,
And part of that completion being, how can you be committed to serving your wife the best, to create the best life? Like,
yeah.
how can we create less violence in the world, one
Mhm,
family at a time,
mhm.
by being committed to loving and showing up for our wives as much as possible?
Yeah.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yeah.
It's like, I want to know if there's that encouragement, like what we are encouraging. Like, we are encouraging, like, yeah, you want to be committed to serving your husband, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so it's like, if we're saying the same thing in private to each other, or like, even if my dream is to create a place where we can say it to each other, like,
Yeah.
you know, just
Yeah.
because that's the way we live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what, that's a great point, right? One of the things that I definitely like to be intentional about and keep to the forefront of my mind is when I'm hosting and when I'm on King's Corner with the Kings, you know, one of the things that I don't tolerate is any kind of like slamming, right? We're not going to slam anybody or any group. We're not going to, preach hate or speak hate about like anyone or anything. Not our women, not, other groups. Because, well, not even because, well, not just because, right? I don't personally, I don't think how productive is that, right? But the purpose of spaces like Black Men Heal, and also when I'm providing one-on-one counseling and coaching, is, how can you become the best version of you so you could show up best for your wife, right, for your family. One of the things, this one brother that I was working with, he had kind of a he had kind of a, for lack of better words, like a kind of archaic type of understanding of what, marriage and the roles, right? So my work with him, it wasn't to, I'm not here to dissuade you, but I am here to offer you a perspective that, hey, you know what, as you become more comprehensive, as you become more complete, there's no need to try to manipulate or dictate, because your wife, she's going to see how she's going to follow your lead. She's going to see how you're showing up in a more comprehensive way that can inspire her to show up in a more comprehensive way, that can, and that can inspire you, you to do it together. One of the one of the again, going back to the Bible and with Genesis, when the Most High created male and female, man and woman, what we know of as Adam and Eve, he created a helpmeet, right? He didn't create a subordinate. He didn't create a now here's your worker, right? He created a helpmate and a helpmeet. And part of and this is just what I believe, right? Or I'm coming to believe, as I submit to the Most High, as I surrender to the Most High's will, well, yeah, there's an order and there's a comprehension and there's a structure that happens, and it's all, and again, it's not for my good or alone, but it's for everyone. It's for all of us. It's so that we can build families, and we can build nations, and we could build societies, right? But if I don't show up comprehensive and as complete as possible, how can I expect that of my wife, my children, or anyone else?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I see. So, and I know that when the Kings join, they get 8 sessions, right? That's part of a membership.
Yeah, well, they have to sign up for that, right? So the King's
Oh,
Corner that's a weekly meetup. You don't necessarily have to be involved with Blackman Hill, right? But
oh,
it is encouraged.
okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. I want to, since we are talking about, Black Men Heal and King's Corner, I want to also just mention that this is a service that is available locally in Philadelphia and also virtually. That's the King's Corner portion,
Uh,
correct?
well, I do want to expand that, right? Because we do
Okay.
have a great push. So this is a good announcement, right? So actually, King's Corner, we are, well, excuse me, not King's Corner. King's Corner is national, and international. We have brothers that join in from the continent. We've had brothers that join in from the UK, from Canada, and that's any and all are welcome, right? Now, also with the counseling, with the 8 free counseling sessions, we're seeing individuals in Pennsylvania, in Delaware, in New Jersey, in New York, in Georgia, trying to think of the other states. Uh, yeah, so
Maryland.
I want to say Maryland. I want to say Maryland. So yeah, I definitely want to say Maryland, but please check out the website blackmenhill.org, and find out all the states that where you can receive free counseling. Also, to the therapists that are out there too, if you feel so led that, hey, this is a mission, I want to be a part of the Black Men and the Kings getting receiving their getting free counseling, please sign up to volunteer your services as a counselor, right? And I have the information, so I want to make sure I get it correctly, right? So please, again, like I said, go to blackmenhill.org, and you can sign up. For those that seeking therapy, you can get 8 free sessions. That's in Pennsylvania, New York, Delaware, New Jersey, Maryland, Virginia, Georgia, and Illinois. Right? If you are a therapist in those states, please sign up, so that you can offer and you can offer so much, right, into the lives of these kings, and many of whom this is their first time with therapy, right? So, yeah.
Wow. I'm so glad that, your organization exists, because I feel like up until I heard about you, there was no place,
Hmm.
um, for Black men. And I have 2 sons,
Wow.
one's 22 and one's
Hmm.
17. So yeah.
Yeah.
And here I think they've only had, I mean, Maryland's pretty diverse, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? So, but for some reason they ended up with white old men anyway. So
Yeah.
weird.
Mm.
So
Yeah. But I do want to add to that, right? And Black Men Heal, and you know what? All right, well, I was about to talk some business, but we'll have to talk off camera about that, right? But
okay.
yes, but Black Men Heal was actually started by 2 sisters, 2 women, right? Taz Suleiman and Zakia Williams, right? And they saw the need. Hey, I'm seeing my black men going through things, and they wanted to pour into us, right? So that goes with what we was talking about earlier, with that uh, uh, us working together, right? Men and women, black men, black women. We got to work together. We got to come together because our original design, in my opinion, my belief, is for us to be helpmates. So how can we help one another? Well, one of the best ways, or one of the ways that we can definitely help each other is, hey, you know what? I got to get my healing individually so I can come together collectively, and so that we can work together as a whole, right? And it's not it's not believing or internalizing these false narratives that's been placed upon us. Like, no, it's men versus women. It's, the older versus younger. Is this one versus no. How can we come together uh um as our full and whole selves, so that we can come together as full and whole families, so we can come together as full and whole societies and nations.
Shay. Well, thank you for being back again, Bernard. Is there anything, well, I guess we talked about Black Men Heal, but is there anything, last words of wisdom that you want to share to any kings out there listening?
Man, yo, show up for you. Show up for you. It is you deserve to, not only do you deserve greatness, not only do you deserve healthiness and wellness and abundance and all those things, you deserve to be your full self. You deserve to be your full you, to enjoy life to the full, to enjoy relationships to the full, to enjoy even the uncomfortable things, even the hard things, even the difficult things. You deserve to benefit and grow from all of that, because again, within the Most High, there is no waste. So either we win or we learn. Either way we win, either way we win, right? And it's really adopting that winning mindset, because winning is not just me winning or my kids or my family winning. How can all of us win, right? And I'll say this, and then I'm going to give some shameless plugs, and then I'll be done, right? I was working with these re-entry guys, and I said to them straight up, like, hey, and it's here in the city of Philadelphia, where the murder rate is high, the suicide rate is high, the addiction rates are high, the mental health, mental illness is high, right? And I said, hey, you know what? I haven't invested reason why I'm working with you guys. And these, like I said, these reentry guys, man, I have daughters, I have sons. I want them to walk in the city and be safe. So it is on me to, not only by the grace of the Most High, I've gotten my healing, but it's on me. I found it part of my duty, my work, to help you with your healing, because I want my kids to be safe. I want my nieces and nephews to be safe. I want my parents, my loved ones to be safe. So instead of me being part of the problem, let me be part of the solution. So let me get back so I can pour into you with the ideal and the hope that you pour into the next one, and that they pour into someone else. And that the same way we can catch a cold, man, we're going to catch this healing. Hey, we're going to catch this healing. Also, I would just like to say to everyone, please follow me on at Mr. E. Bernard, on Instagram, Bernard Alexander, on Facebook. I'm on LinkedIn, E. Bernard Alexander. Also follow my company, Transform and Thrive Solutions. You can do so on the website. So it's transformandthrivesolutions.com. Also on social media at Transform and Thrive Solutions, as well as follow Black Men Hill and follow the work that I do on Black Men Hill and with King's Corner BMH. So,
Thank you. I appreciate it.
yeah.
Until next time. Thank you for listening to What People Miss. Now you can see clearly that life truly is lived in the breaths between the large moments. I invite you to move from surviving to savoring, so that you rewire your body for pleasure and emotional freedom. To find out more about my programs, consulting, and retreats, visit my website, cordeliagaffar.com. Until next week, choose joy and always pleasure.